Hi guys, well, welcome to the channel. Today's video is prompted by one of the subscribers of the channel who wanted to understand my opinion regarding utterances of Julius Malema as far as his criticism on black lawyers is concerned. So I wanted then to understand what was the issues that were involved there and why the utterances were made. So we look at Julius Malema appearing in his criminal case and appearing with an entourage of white lawyers. And comments are made as to why this time he brought white lawyers and not the black lawyers that he had previously. Now, in response to this criticism, which I think was an unfair criticism, the Julius starts to then make certain comments, and I want to go through them with you. One, he says that, but we've been losing cases with these black lawyers, and they fail to even submit documents on time. They can't even submit a simple paper, one-page paper. He indicates that they have a choice to be represented by white lawyers and that they will be represented by white lawyers today, tomorrow, and every time that they want. He indicates that no one chooses lawyers for them, and we know, and he says, we know which ones we know which ones is best under which circumstances. So these are some of the utterances of Julius Malema. He indicates that Ian Levitt attorneys are his attorneys on record, and that black lawyers essentially are losing cases. Now, this obviously then prompts the advocate Dali Mpofu of the EFF to equally make certain statements. And I want to also go through these with you. He says, Dali Mpofu, that Malema did not say and does not believe that all black lawyers are incompetent. He says that the EFF advocates are black, but he highlights there that EFF lost more cases since it started using white lawyers. That's what Advocate Dali Mpofu says. We have, for example, Eusebius Makaiza weighing in on the topic and indicating about the defense that Malema uses being an anti-black defense, and that there is a problem with generalizations of Julius Malema, where he uses one or two black lawyers as a reflection of majority lawyers who happen to be black. But then, with all this said, it prompted also for me to reflect on another video which deals with more or less similar issues by Advocate Ngukai Tobi, wherein he weighs in on the transformation or the importance of the transformation of the legal profession. And he makes certain statements also. I won't go into all those because the videos are out there. He says the idea of wanting a perfect lawyer is anti-transformational. That's what he says. And he says the idea of wanting guaranteed results or outcomes is a mechanism to exclude, to marginalize, and to keep out of work certain people. That is some of the utterances that Advocate Ngukai Tobi says. And then he goes further, Advocate, and he says that law is about experience, it's about repetition, but most importantly, is about making mistakes. Now, he goes on to say, but who are the people that we allow to make mistakes? And who are then the people that we judge for making mistakes? He makes a very strong submission that we allow white counsels to make mistakes once, twice, three times, and five times, but we are brutal when it comes to black lawyers. One strike and you are out, he emphasizes. Now, in all of these things, I wanted to take time and make my own submissions in terms of what I think about the utterances of Julius Malema, utterances of Advocate Dali Mpofu vis-a-vis utterances of Advocate Kaitobi. Now, the first thing that Malema touches on is a right to legal representation. And this is definitely a constitutionally entrenched principle, and there's no doubt about it. And Malema is right. Everyone has a right to choose and to consult with a legal practitioner of their preference, of their choice, or one that they can afford. And this is a right that is entrenched in our constitution. Whether, in fact, in a criminal setting, one even has a right to legal representation at state expense. And this is a very important right, which Malema, in my view, perhaps, not even perhaps, Malema is right. He has a right to choose the lawyers that he wants, whatever color, whether green, white, purple, black, or whatever color that he wants. He has a right to choose. And he is right. Nobody can choose for Malema the type of attorneys that he must work with, the types of advocates that the EFF must work in. So as far as that is concerned, I agree with Julius Malema. You can choose the lawyers that you want. You can choose Ian Levet attorneys. There is nothing wrong. You can choose white advocates. There is nothing wrong. The principle is completely entrenched in our law, not just our constitution. Secondly, there is an element that I must address, and that relates to this the losing of cases by black lawyers, which Malema puts to say that they even failed to submit even just a single paper to court. Now, there are two versions. One, Malema version, the other, Advocate Dali Mpofu version. Malema version is that black lawyers lose cases. Advocate Dali Mpofu submits that EFF has lost more cases since it started using white lawyers. So what is clear from this is that losing or winning of cases is not about the color of a person's skin or pigmentation. So white lawyers lose cases, black lawyers clearly lose cases. And this is a very important issue, which I believe that Julius Malema should not have made the incompetence of a few black people or few people who happens to be black to be a reflection of an entire race of black lawyers or group of black lawyers. This, in my view, is quite problematic. I mean, if we have to ask how many lawyers, black, has Julius Malema consulted with? And can these black lawyers that have been representing him be a reflection of all black lawyers in our country? The answer is an emphatic no. What is clear in when it comes to losing and winning of cases is that the facts often speak for themselves. If your facts are clear, if your case is clear, you have a higher chance of winning cases. But if they are bad, you've got a higher chance of losing cases. And if you have a bad case, it is a bad case. And it doesn't matter whether you use white lawyers, purple lawyers, green lawyers, or whatever type color lawyers that you would want to use, you will still lose the cases. Now, that said, incompetence and reckless disregard of basics should be frowned upon. You know, we need to take our work seriously as lawyers, especially because of the interests and the implications or repercussions that flow from our lack or our inability to apply ourselves as lawyers, not as black or white lawyers, as lawyers. And this is something that, in my view, is very important. The only issue I have is not that Malema addressed the issue of incompetence. It's the way in which he went about addressing the issue of incompetence. You know, I must say, when it comes to standards and generalizations, this is quite problematic for me. And I must emphasize, how many lawyers has the EFF used who happen to be black? And does their incompetence reflect on the incompetence of majority black lawyers? Is the standard of those few that he has consulted on mean that that is the standard of all black lawyers? Is that the standard of all black lawyers? Standard of Advocate Nkaitobi, standard of Advocate Dali Mpofu, and many, many other advocates that are at the top of their peak. Advocate Happy Mshe, and many, many others. Generalizations is my problem. They are dangerous. They undermine the transformation agenda within the legal profession, and in my view, can easily amount to self-hate as well. Now, there's one thing that's very problematic that I also want to address, and that is the defensive position played by Advocate Dali Mpofu himself. He says in his statement that Malema did not, that is on his Facebook page, Advocate Dali Mpofu speaks, he says, Malema did not say and does not believe that all black lawyers are incompetent. Now, why are we not hearing this from Malema himself? Why should we hear it from Advocate Dali Mpofu? Why should Advocate Dali Mpofu be standing up for Malema on this point? When is Julius Malema going to show leadership and apologize for his reckless statements relating to black lawyers and legal practitioners generally? Perhaps that is a question. Is there such a thing as a perfect lawyer? And I think Advocate Nkaitobi addresses this, that such thing does not exist. Guaranteed outcomes? Such a thing does not exist. How does a young lawyer or a person who's new in the legal profession go about gaining experience? But for making mistakes? Advocate Nkaitobi addresses this. He says, it takes experience. It takes repetition. It takes making mistakes, learning from those mistakes. Experience comes through getting your hands dirty and learning as you progress. The only issue is whether, when white lawyers lose cases, do we make it about race or suddenly we make it about facts? And this is a very important issue. When a lawyer who happens to be black loses a case, it should not be about his skin color. It should be about the case, the facts of the case, the arguments presented in a court of law. The last thing, South Africans, that we should be worried about or concerned about is the color of somebody's skin, especially when there is a concern regarding competence. There is this issue of transformation of the legal profession, which is something I will deal with much more in later videos. But for now, safe to say that the comments of Julius Malema, in my personal view, undermines the transformation agenda within the legal profession. It smells, in my view, of self-hate. It shows complete, utter disrespect to many reputable, professional, diligent, hardworking, committed black lawyers that are taking their trade and skills seriously, that are not working from 8 to 4, but that are putting the hours that are necessary in order for them to give the best results for their clients. That being said, Julius Malema is right on one thing. Incompetence is something that we should frown upon. It's something that we should discourage within our country. However, I say to Mr. Julius that he must be careful on how he goes about addressing this issue, because words have meaning. Words often said cannot be taken back, and we must address issues, not people. We must address issues, not color of their skin. But importantly, whatever we address, we must address it with respect and due regard for other people. Now, what do I recommend? One, I recommend, it's a suggestion, that Mr. Julius Malema should consider, and it is highly recommended, that he apologizes, withdraws as an honorable member his statement that he made about black lawyers as a generalization. And I'm saying this not because he should not apologize because he addressed the issue of around incompetence of certain lawyers, but about, in general, creating an impression that black lawyers are incompetent. So I'm asking Julius Malema to apologize about how he went about addressing the demon in the room. Maybe instead of attacking, demeaning, belittling black lawyers, Julius Malema and the EFF in general should consider finding innovative ways to help empower and assist young black upcoming lawyers in the profession and advocates, attorneys and magistrates and so forth. Whatever program they can surely come up with. They can use the resources at their disposal to provide and give back to the people of our country. In conclusion, and as an advocate, as a black person, I don't want handouts. I don't want donations from clients, from the EFF, or from anybody. I don't want to be briefed because I'm merely black. I am black, I am competent, I am self-respecting, and I will work my way through the ranks as a young professional. And I will earn the respect over time. As a black legal practitioner, or as black legal practitioners, let us work to earn our respect and not expect favors and handouts. We are not running a charity case. We are running professional law firms. We are working as professionals, and we must be able to deliver quality work to our clients. So these are some of the thoughts that I wanted to share with you. Whether Julius Malema is right or wrong, for me, it's neither here nor there. You will decide. But what I'm saying is that there is a better way that he could have went about addressing the very issue that is in the room. Having said that, thank you very much for allowing me to address this very sensitive, very sensitive topic. And I mean no disrespect to Mr. Julius Malema, but as brothers, as comrades, as people, we need sometimes to make discussions or time to discuss these uncomfortable topics, because it is through it that our country is enriched, that we become better as a people, and through those engagements, the future, in my view, can be brighter. Having said that, look forward to my next YouTube video, and I am sure it will be as powerful, as vibrant, as relevant, as energetic, and keep well till we meet again. Thank you very much.